We're going to go ahead and take a look at both of these word problems. I call these percent word problems. If you are having trouble with the short, I call percent sentences, just 17% of what number is 43, for example, you should check out the percent sentences introduction video. Okay, what I'm going to do now assumes you're pretty comfortable with solving something like this. Okay, but for the more complicated percent word problems, these are actually asking the same thing, or at least it could be considered in a similar fashion. All right, here they want us to find the original price. They want us, in this one, they want us to find last year's salary. Well, we could say find the original salary. Okay, so each one is the original amount. So to help give you some consistency here, let me back out a little bit. I'll emphasize that I can use basically this chart with these categories. Always, what am I looking for? That'll be my variable. What am I given? And then this part might be a little trickier, but the percent that I actually paid, okay? We'll flush that out in just a second. All right, so let's look at the first one. And we can start out zooming in a little bit, but I'll run out of room if I zoom in too much. All right, so I'll use the same chart for both problems. And again, this is just to help us organize our thinking. Then we'll do our calculation further down. So first off, what am I looking for? The original price. Find the original price. Okay, I'm looking for original price. We'll call that our variable. So we'll just say X. All right. Oops, I'm off the paper. Told you I'd run out of room. Okay, and let's see, what am I given? You may or may not want to write this, but I'm given the sale price. All right, and the sale price is $48. So I'm just going to write 48. I don't want that dollar sign in my way. And as far as the percent paid, all right, if I pay 48 after a 20% discount, I actually paid 80% of the original cost. Make sure that makes sense to you. If I paid 100% of the original cost, I would pay the original cost, right? But I paid 20% less. So that would be 100% minus 20%. I paid 80% of the original price, and I had to hand them 48 bucks. So now we have the basis for our mathematical, well, our algebraic equation. I'll zoom in a little, and I got to slide this all up now. So here's what we've got, and let's write the algebraic equation and solve it. 80%, it's hard to work a math problem with a percent sign. You really don't want that. So I want to write this as a decimal. Let's see, I think I'll just stay right here. So if I get rid of the percent sign, this stands for divide by 100. So if I go ahead and divide by 100, I'll move the decimal 2 places. So now we have 0.80 x equals 48. For this one, I'll solve it just the way it's written. All right, so we have But you could drop that 0 immediately and it would make your life easier. All right. And you want x by itself, so you divide by, this is 80 hundredths if you want to know exactly what it is. All right. So now you have x equals, we can crank out some long division real quick. And this is why I'm saying it's actually better to just drop that 0. You'd have to move this 2 places. You'd have to put in a 0, move it 2 places. Tell the world. Now look at all the work we have to do. So 80 into 480. 8 goes into 48 6 times. That would be 480. And you have to keep up with all your zeros. All right. So you end up with 60. And that's the amount, okay? So they were $60. They took 20% off, and you bought them for 48. I'm going to solve the same problem real quick, just a much easier way. Instead of keeping up with that 0, which is just about craziness, you could just have 8/10 x equals 48. And you could simply divide by this and you'll get the exact answer, or we just learned a trick. If you multiply each side by 10, you would move that decimal 1 place. So this would be 8x equals 480. Now divide by 8. And 8 goes into 48 6. Keep up with the 0. There are a lot of ways you could solve it, but I would definitely drop that 0 at the very least. Whether or not you want to multiply each side by 10, that's up to you. All right, so let's tackle the next problem that I contend is basically the same. All right, so what am I looking for? I want last year's salary. Well, let's continue our little box down here. All right, and last year's salary, we'll make that our variable. So that's going to be x. I'm kind of running out of room. That's our x. Let's see, what am I given? I'm given this year. Again, you might want to label this or not. That's no big deal. This year's salary. And that amount is $37,275. And then this other part, the percent paid. Again, if you made 100% of what you did last year, you would simply get the exact same amount. All right. If we're talking about a 5% raise, you would get 100% plus 5% more. So you get 105% of last year's salary this year. Now let's solve the algebraic equation. Slide this up. So 105%, I'm going to change that to a decimal. 1.05. X equals and you could multiply each side of this equation by 100. That would move the decimal 2 places, and you'd have to put in a decimal and move it 2 places. I'll just leave it as it is right now. So to get x by itself, divide by 1.05, and you also have to come over here. Always same thing on each side. And just looks like it's a lot of work, but it actually might clean up pretty nicely. Sometimes they've put some thought into these problems. This, of course, does clean up quickly. X equals, but we've got some long division here. All right, now looking at our long division again here. Remember the decimal here, we can't leave it. If you haven't already gotten rid of it, you have to now. You have to put in a decimal and move it 2. And you certainly need zeros to hold those spots. Consider that to be 100. It's just easier to estimate. 100 goes into 300 5 times. Sorry, 100 goes into 300 3 times. 3 times 105. All right, let me slide this up. Bring down your 7. 100 goes into 500 5 times. So 5 times that would be 525. Bring down your 5. 100 goes into 500 5 times. And when you multiply, you get 525. Nothing left over. So we ended up with 355, but I haven't taken care of these 2 zeros yet. So you have to bring that down. How many times does 105 go into 0? How many times does 105 go into 0? Now I've used up all my zeros. Okay, so we've got 35,500. That's how much this person was paid last year. And now they're making $37,275. It's a good idea to make sure that makes sense, and it does. A little bit of a raise, a little bit more money.